Let's get into the big first question, which
Great.
is, and again, your book is so timely because of the pandemic. You either had a horseshoe up your ear, or you were on point. You were seeing things happening, and just couldn't have been more timely with Workquake, because we hear the conversation about the Great Resignation, right? It's a huge buzzword right now, and the global
hmm
workforce is like resigning. We see this happening in all different ways. Right. Tell me a little more about sort of how the Great Resignation fits in, or maybe what's your opinion on why this is happening? We're seeing 40, 50% in resignation. And, what's your thought about all of that?
Well, as a closet cultural anthropologist, this has just been an enormously interesting time, just enormously fascinating. I think there's a number of different things. First, I call it something different. I don't call it the Great Resignation. I call it the Great Career Migration. I think people aren't just resigning, they're making changes in their lives. We're seeing more fathers become full-time parents and not want to return. We're seeing people take career pivots in larger numbers than we've ever seen before. And that's not something that's easily tracked. So it's a little bit more sort of anecdotal, intuitive. But I think what happened is you're a parent. We were talking off air about our respective kids. We had a really interesting experience when I was building LinkedIn, and we were terrified, when we would lose someone. Oh my gosh, why are they leaving? We would do all this research. And one day, one of my benefit analysts came and said, Steve, I found something. I think it's statistically significant in the data. I found that the largest percentage of people who are leaving are first-time parents, which led us to go, oh my gosh, are we not being thoughtful or caring or offering counsel and more time off to first-time parents? And we're as we were as generous or as non-generous as every other competitor that we were competing for talent. And so then we started thinking about like, well, what happens when you have your first child? Your whole view of your world, where you want to spend your time, how you want to spend your time, and who you want to be with changes. And I feel the pandemic has served a moment like that for everyone. They've refactored all the values, how they spend their time, who they want to be with, and how they want to live, not just work.
Mhm.
And that's obviously going to trigger people to see the world differently. You know this because you're in the world of change just like I am. Change, when someone stops doing something for a prolonged period, the likelihood of them returning to what they used to do becomes diminished. And I
Right.
feel like we've all been thrown into this new reality. I call it the hostile takeover or the hostile merger of work and family caused by the pandemic. And we're seeing things differently. And we're seeing things like in America, where the American dream, big house, big car, is kind of a charade. It's been the hollowness of that for many has been exposed. Like, I don't like that long commute, and I don't need as much money as I thought I did. I can enjoy the time with my family way more than the 2-hour commute that I have. And so people are acting on that, and in ways that were never before possible. And it is absolutely a moment. And that's what I think is driving it. And many of the people, half of the workers in North America work in the hospitality industry, retail, restaurants, hotels. And most of them were furloughed or let go, or at least told, for a period of time, we're just not opening right now.
Mhm.
And very few companies said, we're going to keep you on payroll, things like that. And so those people aren't returning. And that's another shocking moment for those industries. Like, I've fought for software talent for most of my professional life. I know how hard it is. And that competition for talent forced us to be creative. It forced us to reconcile that this is really about culture. It's not about signing bonuses or fancy perks or benefits or office space. It's about creating something really meaningfully engaging for another human being. And so I also think what's really happening, I'm curious to get your perspective on this. Think about this. And this is a conversation no one's having. Every single organizational culture just went sideways. It's not what it was. Even frontline workers. My wife's a frontline worker. She's a dental hygienist. What does she love to do? She loves engaging in the lives in meaningful ways with her patients. Because when you're in a vulnerable position in that chair, it's amazing the stuff you share with a dental hygienist.
Right. It's like
She can't
therapy.
have those conversations because the air purifier in the background's making noise. She's got extra PPEs that she's got to wear. That level of relationship has been fundamentally altered, making her think differently around how she relates to the part of her job that she loves the most. And that's happened at scale. So now what's stripped away is all the free coffee and the sushi chef and the on-site childcare center. And now it's just you and me. That's the culture. And I think that's beautiful because that's really what it comes down to, right? Is human connection. And where the human connection's been fragile, guess what? It's been hard for a
Right.
lot of people because they didn't feel like they needed to because people are just going to come here because we got this beautiful office space, right? And so that, I mean, there's so many more parts to it, thinking about the Great Resignation or the career migration. But I think these are some of the biggest points when I think about it.